Alright, tip number 1. What are these crazy squares under the ocean? So these are sunken ruins. You might not be paying attention to them because they don't give you any specific resources or anything. They're just a terrain feature. However, unlike any other terrain feature in the game, you can actually build research posts here. And because they're a terrain feature, they usually spawn in clusters of 3 to 5. So you can see right here, there's 4 of them. And so you can just build 4 research posts right here. And so if we have a city right here, we'll have the 4 research posts from here. There's a magic material here where we can make another research post. There's a mana node for another research post, and there's another mana node over here for another research post. So that's 7 research posts very early in the game. Potentially more if you have special province improvements like a alchemist slab or a school of cryomancy. And so you just build your 7, 8, 9 research posts in a single city, and then you can rush a scholars guild and you'll get triple as much research from each of those research posts. And that will be really good because, like pretty much any other 4X game, research is pretty much how you win. So tip number 2. There is a way that you can easily evolve units that have evolve without needing to actually go and fight and get experience. If you have the Tome of Exaltation, there's a spell called Ascended Warriors, and all units in your army will gain 1 rank. And you can just keep using this over and over again to level an entire army all the way from novice to legend, and if they have the evolve trait, they will evolve to their next form. The best thing to combo this spell with is the Tome of Dragons, because you'll have these little tier 3 dragons, and you can get an army of 6 of them and just use the spell again and again until they've got all the way to champion, and then they will evolve into a bigger dragon. And it also, you get a choice of what dragons you want. You can have the fire dragon if somebody's weak to fire, the frost dragon. I think the strongest dragon overall is the golden dragon, because when you evolve it all the way to the max golden dragon, it gets a breath attack. And this breath attack does a little bit less damage, but it still does pretty good damage, and it's spirit, which is a nice damage type to have. But more importantly is, instead of damaging your friendly units when they get hit by it, it will actually heal them for 20 hit points instead of damaging them, and it will remove negative status effects. So not only does this dragon do a lot of damage, but it's also a pretty good support unit. So the Tome of Dragons and the Tome of Exaltation is a pretty good combo if you want to run around with a lot of tier 5 dragons. Alright, tip number 3, Summoning Balors. You notice in the tier 5 Chaos Tome, you get a spell, Summon Balor. You get a tier 5 Balor, and it costs 2 population in a city. So don't use this spell, don't get this tome. There's a better way to summon a Balor. If you take the Tome of the Demon Gate, which is only a tier 4 tome, it has 1 spell, Fight for Power. 2 fiend units of the same tier in the army fight each other. One dies and the other transforms into a fiend with 1 tier higher than before. And so basically you can take 2 tier 4 fiends and you can merge it into a tier 5 fiend, which is always going to be a Balor, because Balors are the only tier 5 fiend in the game. And to get tier 4 fiends, you can do it one of 2 ways. You can either get the Tome of Pandemonium, tier 3, and summon 2 Chaos Eaters, which are tier 4 fiends. There's another way if you want to do it with draft. You can use the Demonkin transformation from the Tome of the Demon Gate, and this will turn all your racial units into fiends, and so then you can just build tier 4 racial units in your cities, such as the Warbreed or even the Exemplar if for some reason you have access to Exemplars, and then you just merge them into Balors. Speaking of Balors, tip number 4, since we don't need the Tome of the Chaos Lord for the Summon Balor spell, Everything in this tome is kind of just not good, so I don't recommend getting this tome overall. If you're using a lot of Balors, there's a much better tome to get for your tier 5. The Tome of the Archmage. Not only is Time Stop and Disruption Wave extremely strong spells, but also there is the Cosmic Overdrive Unit Enhancement. Grants enchanted units 30% damage and very fast movement, and it affects Magic Origin units, and this includes Balors. So Balors are one of the only tier 5 units that can actually get a really strong unit enhancement, because normally tier 5s are mythics and they can't benefit from most unit enhancements. So this is a great tome overall if you're using a lot of Balors. Alright, tip number 5. So if you want a certain tome, but you notice you don't have enough affinity in your build to select that tome, if it's a tier 3, 4, or 5 tome, what you can do is on your leader, the hero skills, the signature hero skill abilities, these each give one affinity of their type. And so you see here, I got one nature affinity, one order affinity, and one shadow affinity. And so you can just take the ones that you need to get affinity to take the tome, and then you can take the tome, and then you can take your free reset, and you'll keep the tome that you got, and you can take whatever signature skill is best later on after you've reset them. Tip number 6. Would you like a ring that gives you complete immunity to all negative status effects? Perhaps a trinket that helps you come back to life after you die? Or even something that will have all of your heroes summon tier 4 spiders. You probably do, but the problem is these often require very specific magic materials, and you can even need like 3 of the same one, which can be very hard to find by yourself. There's an easy way to get very specific magic materials. The Tome of Transmutation has a unique province improvement, the Transmutation Circle, and when you build this, you get to choose a magic material that spawns from it. And so you can build one of these in each one of your cities. And so this can be a great way to get the magic materials you need for very specific item effects. So the way you build it is you just go into your city, you click the Transmutation Circle, you put where you want to build it, and you choose whichever magic material you want. And then it'll build, and you'll have it. Alright, and that brings us to our final tip, tip number 10. What item should you be building on your heroes? So there's a lot of weapons you can build. Generally, physical damage is a lot better than magic weapons, because all of the damage increasing hero abilities only count for physical weapons. So fire weapons, frost weapons, meteor strikes, blight weapons, you know, all those hero abilities. They will work for like your physical attacks, but not for if you're using a sphere or a staff. And then among the physical weapons, weapons that only cost 1 action point are a lot better, because you will have killing momentum, which gives you 1 action point when you kill a unit, and so you can potentially have double as much damage when you kill a unit. And then among the 1 action type weapons, which are 2-hand weapons, crossbows, and sword and pistol, the sword and pistol is much better than any of the other ones, because if you compare it to the crossbow, it only has 2 less damage. However, not only does it have a melee attack, but when you look at the fire mage lock ability, piercing, ignore 50% of the target's defense. So it actually does a lot more damage than the crossbow or the 2-hander or anything like that, in addition to being ranged. So the pistol and sword is just the best weapon by like a pretty big margin. And because it bypasses 50% of defense, but not any resistance. I don't recommend changing the damage channel. I say just keep it physical. That's probably going to be better in most cases. And Giant Slayer is really good because it's on all large targets, and there are a lot of large target monsters, so this is probably the best one overall. Well, that's the end of the video. If you already knew any of these tips, or if you notice that there's only 7 tips instead of 10, then go ahead and leave an angry comment down below.